So, here's the big question on everyone's mind right now. Does working from home kill our creativity, or could it actually be the key to unlocking it? For years, this debate has been going back and forth, but today, we're going to dive into some brand new research that gives us a surprisingly clear answer.
Yeah, think about it. On one hand, you've got the freedom, the focus that comes with remote work. But on the other, there's this nagging fear, right? That we lose that creative spark, that magic that happens when we're all brainstorming in the same room. So, what's the real story?
And, this isn't just some casual water cooler chat. Past research on this very topic has been described as, and I'm quoting here, multifaceted and controversial. Basically, studies have been all over the map, which has created a real dilemma for companies trying to figure this out. And this really breaks it down perfectly. You've got the fear on one side. We're going to lose our connection, creativity will dry up, our teams will fall apart. And then you have the hope on the other. Employees get more autonomy, we can hire the best people from anywhere in the world, and everyone gets more deep focus time.
So, to finally get a clear answer, some researchers set up a pretty clever test. And they picked a really fascinating place to run it, Jordan.
They looked at 268 employees working for big international nonprofits there. Now, the location is super important. The study points out that Jordanian culture traditionally puts a huge emphasis on face-to-face interaction, so this makes it a really tough testing ground. The thinking is, if remote work can actually boost innovation here, then that tells you something incredibly powerful.
Okay, so here's how they did it. They broke remote work down into 3 key ingredients, which we'll get to in a sec. And then they measured how those ingredients affected one big outcome, how innovative a team was. So let's make sure we're all on the same page with the terms. First up, what do they even mean by remote work? Well, in this study, it's not just one thing. It's a mix of 3 different kinds of flexibility. Flexibility in where you work, flexibility in when you work, and of course, using the technology that makes it all happen. And what was the goal? What were they measuring? Something they call Team Innovative Performance, or TIP. And listen, this is not just about having cool ideas in a meeting. It's about a team's ability to actually create and then implement new stuff that works. It's all about results.
All right, so the stage is set. We've got a solid test in a really tough environment. So what they find? The answer is, well, it's pretty surprising.
And there it is. No ambiguity. The study found that remote work doesn't hurt innovation at all. In fact, it has a significant positive impact on it. The more flexibility and support a team had, the more innovative they became.
And here's the data that proves it. This is the model from the study. Now, don't get bogged down in all the numbers, just look at the arrows. Everything on the left, all the remote work stuff, is pointing to innovation on the right, and they're all positive. This thing is rock solid, statistically speaking.
Okay, that is a huge revelation. But it kind of makes you wonder, right? If remote work is the secret sauce for innovation, which ingredient is the most important?
Well, lucky for us, the researchers actually ranked all 3 factors based on how much of a punch they packed when it comes to a team's innovative performance. And coming in at number 1, the single biggest key to innovation in a remote world was place flexibility, the freedom to choose where you get your work done. That had the biggest impact, hands down.
Just how big? Well, they gave it an impact score of 0.45. Now, to put that in perspective, in studies like this, anything over 0.3 is considered a big deal. So this is huge. But why? Why does where you work matter so much?
Well, the study suggests that when you're not tied to one office building, it just blows the doors wide open for collaboration. Suddenly, your team can work with people from literally anywhere, bringing in all these fresh, diverse perspectives, and that, right there, is a goldmine for new ideas. All right, next up, coming in at a strong number 2, is time flexibility. We're talking about having control over when you work your hours. This one scored a 0.35, still super significant, just a little behind the freedom of choosing your location.
And the thinking here is that this kind of autonomy just fuels creativity. When you let people work when they're at their best, whether that's early in the morning or late at night, you shift the whole culture. It stops being about watching the clock and starts being about getting amazing results.
And that brings us to our third and final key, technology acceptance. This is all about having the right digital tools and, this is the really important part,
actually getting the team to use them effectively. So its score was 0.30. And this tells a really interesting story. Technology is absolutely the foundation. I mean, none of this works without it. But it's the flexibility that the tech unlocks that really supercharges the innovation. Okay, so that's the research, but what do we actually do with it? How can you and your team put this into practice? Let's boil it all down into a simple, actionable playbook. All right, here's your game plan. Step 1, invest in the right tools. That's the bedrock. It's non-negotiable. Step 2, set clear policies. This gives everyone the guardrails they need to really use that time and place flexibility we now know is so powerful. And step 3, and this one is so important, you have to deliberately build trust when you're not in the same room. The study calls this psychological safety, and it's what makes people feel safe enough to share those brilliant, maybe a little crazy ideas that can change everything. You know, this whole study just turns that old idea that the office is some magical idea factory completely on its head. It shows that giving people flexibility might just be the best innovation strategy there is. And that leaves us with a really big question to chew on. If our physical location isn't the thing holding back our best ideas anymore, what is?